Okay, so we've got a 2013 Golf in today for our water leak procedure. So we're just going to show you what we found so far. So if we get our special machine, this tells us if there's any water underneath the carpets, which we can see that that's reading a higher level of water on the driver's side. If we go round to the driver's rear, just repeat the same process. So if I lift up this carpet, okay, so we can see that there is water in the driver's front and driver's rear. There doesn't seem to be a lot of water in this side, but we can see that it's moved up. So that is suggesting that there is some sort of... Oh, there we go. So we've got water under there as well. If we come round to the back, we can see that there's a lot of water in the back where the spare wheel sits. So obviously we do advise getting that all obviously dried out. A couple of reasons being electrical problems. It can give you electrical problems further on down the line. It can also give you mould spores as well. So kind of like this, but this is being fogged with a decontamination product. And then what we would do is take the carpets up, suck out as much water as we can, and then what we do is we put our super drying machine in now. So I'm just going to show you what leaks I've found so far. Just to explain, on this front scuttle area, very common on the Volkswagens. Seems to be running okay at the moment, but I would advise taking this off. The reason being, once we take it off, we clean it out underneath, and then there's a blanking box on this side, on the driver's side, and the pollen housing filter on the other. We tend to obviously reseal both of them because they do have a tendency of leaking in the past. So that's that one, but we're just going to show you what we found. Okay, so we're going to focus on the passenger front door. So we've put some water down the outside, just simulating this out in the rain. Now it should drop out the bottom of the door, which it is doing. But if we look closely, we can see it's actually running out of the door membrane. So it would run out of the door membrane, it would then come onto this rubber here. Once it then builds up on that rubber, it will go under and then obviously work its way in the car. As far as we can see, it's only the one door membrane which is leaking. We do know these do have problems with the speakers because they're riveted in. So we would advise doing all four door membranes and the speakers as well, because you don't want to fix this one, get it all nice and dry, and then the other one starts leaking because we know they're all the same age. So now we're going to go around and focus on the back of the car. In the back of the car, in here, we have rear air vents which are behind the rear bumper. I'll get my torch out in a minute and I'll show you why. Okay, so we're now at the back of the car. So what we're going to do is I've put my torch in now. We can see the air vent in now, but you can see in the box section that there is water in the bottom. So we're going to put some water on the back of the light, which runs down the back of the light, behind the bumper, and then it then runs down the air vent, and then it will start working its way in. So we can see on the top of that air vent there, we can just see that there's signs of water starting to come in. So what that would do from there is it would run down here, off of the air vent, and as we can see, they're very loose in there as well. This side is the same as well. This one's leaking a little bit heavier. I don't know if you can see down there, but obviously we've got water just down here, and the box section is wet as well, and that one is loose as well. So what that's going to do is once it fills up that box section, it's going to run into the spare wheel holder. If not, what it will do is it will follow the line and go underneath the seat, and then it will then drop into the footwells. So there we go. So that's what we found so far. Rear lights seem to be okay, and these grommets seem to be okay. So we've tested them and they're not leaking. So there we go. That's everything we've found so far.
Hello, right, just an update on your car. As you can probably see, we've got it in pieces. We've got the carpets up, we've got the door cards off, the rear ones are still to come off. So as you know, the vents were leaking, as you've seen in the previous video. So on this vent, what we've done is we've got a special product that's sort of a wet sealant. It constantly stays wet, but it creates a nice seal between where the vent is and how it sits against the metal. We do that on the lights as well. On the other side, if you see around here, we haven't actually applied that yet. So as you also know, there was a leak coming from the door card. So we've checked the door cards, we've taken them off, and we've added a bit of that same special sealant product around all the holes where the plastic attaches to the door. And what we'll do as well is we'll remove this and we'll add a bit around the edge just to make sure there's a better seal on that. And the speakers are notorious on this car as well, just because they're riveted in. So what we'll do is we'll remove the speaker and we'll add a bit of a sealant around that as well. Onto the inside of the car, the passenger side, the rear had a slight bit of water in. That was pretty quick to dry. The rear of the car, as you know, was filled with water. That's dry now as well. And then the back of the car, driver's side, was much wetter than the passenger side, so that took a little bit longer to dry, but that is now dry as well. And the carpet has also had a spray with the special fogger, which will inhibit further mould growth and kill anything on there that is currently causing it. So yeah, there's your update for you. Managed to remove the speaker, as I said I would in the previous video, and there's actually, unfortunately, a little bit of damage around the bottom. Now, we're pretty sure that these speakers have been out before, maybe a previous owner. For whatever reason, they've been out. And it doesn't look like the correct rivets have been used to attach the speakers to the door. Now, if we go to this speaker, which I haven't touched, and you look around here, there's a rivet, the bottom rivet. Now, if you look, you can see some cracking. And you see right along there, there's a bit of cracking. Now, as soon as we start drilling these rivets out, we are actually probably going to see that deteriorate, but we do have the correct rivets here, and we do repair these because we have seen it a few times before. But effectively what it is these rivets aren't low pressure rivets, so when they're put in, they pull from behind, and they pull a little bit too hard on that plastic, which is then obviously causes cracking. But yeah, we'll get that sorted, and we'll get the speakers back in, and we'll make sure it's all right. This is the rivet they use, which doesn't have any slots cut in, and that's a higher pressure rivet. And effectively how it works is this pin is pushed through, which then causes this metal to crumple, so it can't be moved out. And this is one of the low pressure rivets, and that's got slots in, so it makes it much easier for this bit of metal to crush, if you see the slots in there. As well as that, it has a gasket which, one, prevents damage, makes it a little bit softer, but also creates an airtight, watertight seal from where the speaker is fastened to the door. Now, the reason those speakers breaking cause leaks is obviously the speaker's out of this one, but water drips down from above, and it sort of ends up on the ridge, and it can come down all the way down to the bottom. Now, if it's sealed and not split, that works its way down to the bottom and comes out of the drainage holes like it's supposed to. Whereas where yours is split, sometimes water can work its way over this ridge and end up coming through there because the seal isn't quite as perfect as it could be.
So the vents are on, the bumper's back on, and the front door panels, you might have seen that already. These have been off, and we did find the evidence that we thought we might find. Seats all back in now, need a little quick vacuum, but otherwise, and it's all bone dry underneath the carpets. Rear door panels have still got to be done, and we've got to put some bits back in the boot and test it all. This is the car done video. So, car done video. So it's had a little clean. It's been under the rinse arch, and we tested it all, and we're happy with the tests. It's not the same as a real world test, but it is still like a rain arch test, and it's been under there for half an hour. That's including the fact that we've given it a wash. Right, a couple of little scuffs on it, but you know, later on down the line, if you want to keep the car, you could potentially bring it in and we can make it like new again. But the main thing is you're in here because you want to see it nice and dry, and it is nice and dry after that test, so you have to give it a real world test. The carpets are nice and dry. You can't see that in the video, but I can tell you that they're dry. And if you look round, these panels have been off. you've done what we've recommended. So that means if this car gets wet within the next month, we will dry it anyway, all included, because you've gone with what we suggested. The seatbelt area here has all been cleaned, and that's been done with a decontaminant, and the seatbelts have been done, and we've checked all the lights and everything. That's all good. In the boot there, this is where it was wet. That was where your main problem was, and it's all dry under here now, and we're not seeing any evidence of any water coming in now. So you have to give it a real well test and see, but otherwise we're happy with it so far. Come round this side. Again, this was dry, I think, anyway, but this was a wet part of the car, so this half is all been dried right through. This panel's been off and resealed. Even though there wasn't anything wrong, they do leak in the future. This one, we know the speakers were broken and so on. That's all been fixed, and we're not seeing any evidence of water coming where it shouldn't come, at the bottom of the doors, so that's good. And then passenger footwell mats have been put back in. It's all dry. So if we have a heavy rain, if you check it, we'll give you the guarantee sheet. If you check it, then you know, if there's a problem, come back to us. Okay, it smells all right. You'll just have to trust me, or whoever's watching this on the camera. It does smell okay now. So hope to see you then soon. Okay, thank you. Amazing.